All right, give it a one more time for Lauren E. Banks. And to her right, you may also notice this is Justin Hurt Dunkley. He plays Deputy U.S. Marshal Ike Rogers, correct? Yes. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll do this for about 15 minutes or so. If you have some questions yourself, I'm going to come to the audience and do a quick Q&A as well. But I'm catching my breath, so I'm going to pass it over to Jascale to get us started.
Mic check. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Yes, I'm Jascale Creasy. I am the creative director and director of talent acquisition for the podcast Black Fly on the Wall.
I had to go get tissue.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a little emotional.
Very, very, very. We kind of talked about this earlier, but how do you prepare for a role like this? We've heard actors need therapy after, playing a role. We've heard about actors and actresses wanting to be referred to by their role name. I know you guys probably couldn't catch an Uber for a while because they didn't have Ubers back in the day. How do you prepare for a period piece like this?
Well, you want to start? I'll start. Volunteering people. Well, it's a lot. When I auditioned for this role, I had to figure out the dialect. I had to figure out where Jenny's voice lived, because the only source material that I had for Jenny were one photo of her, a tintype photo, and of course they don't smile, so you can't get real sense of personality or anything. And then there was another tintype photo of Jenny and Bass. And but the audition asked for, they were like, you can do a Texas dialect or you can just do an American dialect. I'm like, I'm not gonna just do an American dialect. Like, if I'm gonna get the part, I'm gonna get the part. So I had about 2 days, 48 hours to figure that out. So it included a lot of audio samples, and there's this huge archive of samples of people from all over the world. It's called IDEA, International Dialects Archive, and English Archive, and it's a wonderful resource for actors. So and they have samples from pretty far back, but not this far back. But so that was one. And then I used my imagination, especially for her, in a lot of ways, in terms of, like I said, I don't know what she sounded like, but I know she had 10 kids. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, we're gonna go down into, to the vocal register. We're gonna, someone who's gravitational, her frame is just rooted into the ground, is what my imagination took me to. And then, of course, you saw in this last episode where I have that prosthetic belly. So a big part of that, and that's not so much to do with period, but it is actually, because I wore the prosthetic belly. I've never born children before in my life, so it was important for me to take that thing home. I asked the costume designer if I could take it home and sleep in it and live life over the weekend in it, and that was shout out to the moms. That was interesting and illuminating, but also imagining, journeying back and watching a lot of at-home births for this, because they were having, obviously, as you saw, everything was done at home, and you saw an earlier episode where she asked Sally to help her give birth to Sally's sibling, and so that was a big part. But there's so much more into it. I had to learn how to use all the muskets and everything that Bass used just in case Jenny did that. There are scenes you don't see in this particular series where I had to use the gun quite a bit, but we'll talk about that later. Um, and also the wagon, driving the wagon was a real thing.
So no Uber.
Huh?
No Ubers.
No Ubers. So I did a lot of unplugging, and my dad would call me on Saturday mornings, and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I really wanted to just wake up to the day without technology as much as I could, so that I can go back in my mind to where those people lived. And but by the time I called him like 2 p.m. in the afternoon from Texas, he's like, Lauren, you can't not pick up the phone for your first time in Texas. But yeah.
Speaking of that, especially thinking about process, so Lauren and I, we were in school together as actors, so
Yes, we were.
I watched very intently to make sure that she was on point. I haven't given her any notes. There's no notes to give, but there were a few times where I said, oh, someone has stepped their game up, where I saw an episode where there was a single tear, and I said, is that a glory tear?
That was a glory tear, Jeff. How you know?
How does one conjure up the glory tear? And then think about in this last episode when you're giving birth and you have both tears come from your eyes when the missus comes in and takes your baby away. I'm just thinking about just the single to the double. How do we transition?
Let me tell you. That glory tear is iconic. Denzel's glory tear on the battlefield, iconic. And there is no part of, I was very proud when I saw it. I was like, oh, shoot, I got a glory tear.
Oh, I clocked it immediately. I said, oh, my goodness.
But, like, not, of course, not on purpose, and just a beautiful happenstance of the circumstances in which my imagination had took me. But it was dope. And yeah, the emotional landscape of this show is, once you steep yourself in the research and you steep yourself in the circumstances that is answering the question, how will we define what freedom means for us in this country, right on the heels of emancipation, that reality is jarring as it is inspiring, as it, it's just, once you put, like I said, take the time through the process to be in it, and then you pursue what it is their objectives are, then everything else kind of handles business for itself.
Speaking of, how does Jenny transition from slavery to a freed woman? There's no therapy. There's no, it didn't seem like anybody was talking you through the process. And then how did she deal with the PTSD from the experience?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, if this show continues for whatever divine reason, I think you'll be able to see some of the things that you didn't get to see this season, and so there are other scenes on that plantation. For example, the day that Jenny is emancipated, the day they walk off the plantation, it was an interesting place to be. It was like I said, it was a bizarre headspace. And we shot on a real plantation in Texas where over 600 enslaved people occupied that space, and you could feel that energy and spirit very palpably. And there was no manual. There are other scenes, I hate that I keep saying, there's stuff you ain't see. But again, I do, like I said, if it continues, and I look forward to continuing to explore this era of our history that is Reconstruction. This building was built during Reconstruction. So there were there were so many beautiful things that happened in that time for us, and thanks to our ingenuity at that time and our forward thinking and our organizing that happened right away. Like, it wasn't, we didn't come off and kind of sit down. We were like, right. 1865, okay, you know what I mean? Let's organize. Let's have legislators. Like, yes. let's move. It was happening, and I think that energy that I understood in the research helped me to figure out where Jenny was in it all. And I think one of the biggest things for Africans in America at that time was the opportunity, like I said, to define what freedom is. And a big part of that was defining family, being able to create family without them being sold away from you. Family, for us still, is really important. It's a cultural thing, and it often gets taken for granted, but in that time it wasn't. So, that was a big part of her transition, putting her family back together, as you see in episode 1, staying put where Bass was. And I say all of that to say that there was a scene when she was in the Freedmen's Camp. And if you know Freedmen's Camp and the history of the Freedmen's Camp, it was the biggest way in which we, as refugees of the transatlantic slave trade, were able to reconnect with people, and they helped us find our lost loved ones. And so Jenny decided that she was going to stay put in the refugee camp so that Bass could find her. And that's why she's still in Fort Smith, because that's where the Freedmen's Camp was. And Esme decided to go north. And there's a whole backstory there.
Oh, yeah, I have something to say about Esme to our brother Justin in a moment. But, well, I just want to jump off of, in terms of thinking about this being very just in divine order, and just talking about where you are today, you being from Durham, thinking about that history, the history of this building that we're in, this part of the city that we're in, and I haven't been here in about 10 years. And when I arrived, I was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And just thinking about, and different people that I don't know have just been talking about, we are thinking about, like, how do we push back? How do we not embrace or engage in the same cycle that happened years ago, like when people are getting pushed out? I say that to say, with you and Bass, there are times, or we see them both wrestling with things that are weighing them down in terms of thinking about moving forward. Bass is weighed down by the weight of justice, and you are weighed down by this idea of peace. And by the time we finish this finale, both of you all have, in separate places, come to understand that your ideas of both what justice and peace are for one another has to change. And you all decide that, and you're on the same page. Can you talk about, like, what that means, and just thinking about how that resonates today, thinking about Black people in America, Black people in this part of North Carolina?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, brother, for that wonderful question. By the way, he came because he was attending a house party I used to throw back in the day. Anyways, 10 years ago, I was like, hey, y'all should come to Durham. We do these house parties for my birthday. Anyway, justice and peace. Jenny, one of the things I loved about Jenny when I first read the script is that obviously she's a highly capable woman. She's very strong. She's very protective. She's very loving. I also love that she was protected, that she was loved, and that she had strength in her family provided to her. I also loved that she still had somewhere to go. Oftentimes, the Black woman is just seen as superwoman, kind of thing, and
Right.
just nothing can break us. And it's like, all right, like, we need fertile soil as well. We need to be, like I said, loved and protected as well. And I love that she was resistant to this idea of an all-Black township, that she had to come around to understanding how she can involve herself in the world outside of that home, and what legacy she would leave behind, which is something that a lot of Black women in that time did. Testified, over hundreds of Black women testified to Congress against the Klan at that time, made testimony about their sexual violence encounters. And obviously that was a very, dangerous thing to do. But the organizing efforts and the clarity of thought and the leadership, quite frankly, of women in that time was important. And that relationship between she and Esme, I loved, and I loved her coming around to understanding the vision Esme saw.
Yes.
Like I said, she first wanted to define freedom with family, but freedom is not free, and she learns that. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say we're gonna be taking a few more. We're gonna do a few more questions up here, and then I'm gonna be coming to the audience. So if you all have any questions that you are thinking about or want to ask, go ahead and start really getting the mind rolling, and we're gonna make sure we come to you. We'll probably do about 2 or 3 questions from the audience. All right, and I'll pass on that.
All right, Justin. We were introduced to your character as a freed man, but I know you were there in Texas. I know you walked the plantation. Was any part of the slaves' experience help to form your character?
Hello? Okay. You said any part of the slave
Yeah, the
experience?
experience of being a slave, being on the plantation. Even though we met you as a free man, was there any part of that that you had to draw inspiration from?
Right. I actually didn't shoot on the plantation. They shot on the actual plantation. The real life U.S. Marshal Ike Rogers, he was born enslaved and became a free man. But yeah, so I just didn't have that experience. So
You know, it's funny, actually, we were talking as it relates to the Klan scene, which you guys probably saw in the trailer. Ike Rogers comes to save the day. And so that resistance is interesting. It's also funny, my dad asked him not too long ago, he was like, Justin, every time I see Ike Rogers, he's smiling. And he said, why is that? And Justin said, what did you say?
he was happy to have a job. That wasn't normal back then.
And we saw that smile again in this
Right.
final episode.
Right.
It was a twinkle in the eye
Right.
Absolutely.
with
But-
Esme.
Absolutely.
Not to mention all the years of free labor. Like, I was like, duh, yeah, that is a happy man. That's a happy black man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is this very powerful video on social media where I think it was like in 90 seconds, this woman spoke life into her man. And let's be honest, Bass might would have died if it wasn't for Jenny telling him to run, get out of here, putting him before even her own will. I mean, she just got back with her husband. Bass might not even have been a lawman if it wasn't for Jenny, right? You spoke about it a little bit, but can you just speak about the power of being a woman during that time, having to carry your family on your back, having to sometimes put them before even your own interests?
Yeah. Well, I think I drew on some of my understanding from the women that I know today, who put a lot of things before themselves, and I think we women are coming around in this day and time in terms of saying, okay, what can I invest in? What kind of things can I make sure that that is just for me? Carve out my own space. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of that question, Jessica?
I want you to speak about how, if it wasn't for Jenny pushing and motivating Bass, we might not even know the story today. We hardly knew the story. We had, let's be honest, we had to do our own research, right? We had to learn from some of us till we got at HBCU to even find out that there was a Bass Reeves, right? And so, but if it wasn't for Jenny being the backbone, and then not even finding out about her until even later, watching a story like this, how important was her and being in that role to the story?
Yeah, I got you. I think it was hugely important, and it's a big shout out to the writers, Chad Feehan and David. I think it speaks to how they understand women, the women in their lives, the quote strong women in their lives, and the dynamic women in their lives. I think a big part of Bass and Jenny, and especially what Bass does, is that he has to have some goal other than just go get the bad guy. And I think that had a lot to do with why his record was so enormously, shocking that he was able to bring in over 3,000 outlaws and do all this stuff. But he had a big family to go home to. Like, it was 10 children at the house waiting for him. You know what I
10.
mean? Like, he really had to go get the bad guys. He really had to round up those checks and bring it home. And not to mention he had to, survive those encounters. And there was so much about being Bass Reeves, a black man whose job it is to go arrest bad white guys. You know what I mean? Like, being an officer today is one thing, but being an officer of the law at that time, extremely dangerous in that space. And so I think what we imagined in this show anyways is that he had a family to return to, love, yeah.
This was the highest streamed show on Paramount. 96% rating, audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. What does that say? What is the audience telling Hollywood? What is the audience telling Hollywood by saying 96% on Rotten Tomatoes?
I just point to Justin because he is Mr. Analytical. Like, he's looking at all the numbers and all the facts and all the things, so.
Yeah, it says black stories travel, and we need more of them. Yeah, we proved ourselves time and time again. Yeah, we proved ourselves time and time again, and we still got to fight. This was a fight. So
Yes.
yeah,
Thank
that's what
David
it's
for fighting
telling
over
us.
a decade to have the story told. We said thank you from Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, of course. But no, speak to what you were saying about the fight, though, because I think it's important. I'm still in Mama Jenny mode, sorry.
Well, girl, get the house.
Well, I just want to, it's telling a story like this on this platform in a global way is wonderful. And it obviously doesn't come without a lot of resistance. And so when you say 7.5 million people around the world are celebrating this nucleus black family, it's really, really critical to see him as the head.
Absolutely.
As a leader and a father and a husband who cares, who sacrifices, who thinks forward, and to see him loving on that woman is important, and to validate our humanity is important.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm extremely proud of the success of this project, and I'm extremely moved by the people that reach out from Germany and Argentina and Bolivia and Spain and the UK and say whatever they say to me in the DM, and then I press translate.
Thank God for that.
You know what I mean?
Thank God for that button.
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
and press translate and see that this means something to them. So yeah, I know we got some audience questions.
There we go, the yes indeed. Thank you very much. So I know you talking about the people and talking to those around the world, but let's talk to the people in the room. Do we have any questions over here? I'm gonna start right here. Here you go.
Thank you so much for sharing this opportunity with us, and welcome home, Lauren. Good
Thank
to see you, and so proud of you. I sense unresolved racial tension in this film that is still present in our community today. I am an educator of children K-5, and I am now a librarian. We have books about Bass Reeves. So this is important for me to digest this information in order to share it with a younger audience. And I happen to believe that hard history needs to be shared with a younger audience. So my question is, what would or could the representation of this story and the theme, what could it be portrayed to children as to make it palpable, but also compelling to them thinking about the racial tension in our society today?
I think that, thank you for your question, and also thank you for being a teacher in Durham Public Schools, I assume. Awesome. Well, I'm a product of Durham Public Schools, so thank you.
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, children love engagement, especially in the educational space. And I don't think there's a better tool than theater for that. It's a place in which my imagination was ignited, and it's a place in which my instrument as a storyteller was defined, and I gained a great deal of confidence in that. So I imagine that for children, Bass Reeves, the one-man show, Bass Reeves, the play, maybe not the musical, I'm not crazy about musical. However, the Color Purple musical on film is excellent. But I digress. I think it'll be awesome as a play, actually, I think I've seen a few children's books about Bass Reeves. I've seen people send me, oh, I'm teaching my baby about Bass Reeves in this book, and that's really cool. So I think the medium of storytelling as it relates to theater would be fantastic.
All right, we have another question that's going to be over here. Can you see me in the audience? All right, there we go. I'll pass it right on to you.
Awesome, sounds good. Oh. Hi, I'm Kaylin, an aspiring actress, so I love to watch this and hear you guys talk back. It's awesome. My question is just around choosing projects, because you put so much of your soul into this project, and really even over your career, whether it's on camera or theater, what goes into you choosing a project and saying, oh, I'm going to work on this? Is it business industry stuff, your agent yelling at you? Is it purely artist? What's that ratio of balance there?
Okay, so we were also talking about this the other day too, in terms of choosing projects. Actually, how did you come to it, Justin?
To this project?
Yeah.
Same as you. So my reps, they reached out to me about this show, Bass Reeves. That's what it was called before Lawmen. And yeah, I just auditioned, put myself on tape, and then sent it off, and that's how it went. To your question though, I think you really just have to have a true sense of self, and really know what you'll do and what you won't do. Stay strong to that, because I know like this is not an easy career at all, and a lot of even the reps, they just want you to take what you can until you get to a point where you can kind of be choosy. But I say be choosy now. Film, TV, it lasts forever, so be mindful of that, and yeah, just make sure it's something that you're passionate and really actually want to do it.
Yeah, 1,000%. I agree. I think that answers it for sure.
That's amazing, yeah.
All right, and in the back of the house, near the center, do you see me waving? I think I have a very special question that is about to be asked. I'm going to pass it on over.
Hi, I'm Albertina Smith-Banks, and I might be related to Lauren. I have to do my Ancestry.com.
Yeah, let's
But
do that.
nonetheless,
I've known you for a while too.
for a minute, okay. All right. So here's my question. As fans of the Bass Reeves universe, what pressure can we bring to bear to the industry so that they hear that we want more? So that they hear that we want more.
You got an idea? Go use it.
I mean, they hear us. It's already words traveling about a season 2. Again, how Lauren was somebody speaking to, it still is a lot of hardship and fight and racism in Hollywood. So creatively, things have to change, and that's the fight for that. But what you can do is, I mean, just continue to spread the word. And, the more views, the more they'll listen, and, yeah, just support.
Yeah, I agree with that. The spreading the word of mouth element of people coming to learn about Bass Reeves has been enormous, and I think we know based on the statistics of how the show has grown up the charts and gone down and come right back up the charts. That has everything to do with y'all telling people that you like the show. So please keep doing that. I think also to your point, they pay attention to how people are speaking about the show on social media. And so when they know that those grassroots word of mouth conversations are happening because it's also being posted about, that's the, that's the way in which they can track that is happening. So, yeah, I mean, if you enjoy it, tell somebody, post about it.
Gotta tell somebody.
All right, and we're coming up on, this is going to be the second to last question. So if you do have a question, raise your hand. I'll try to come to you, make it good, make it last, but I'm going to pass it on over right now.
My name is Monty McNair, and I'm a sophomore at NC State majoring in accounting. And first, I want to say thank you, Lauren and Justin, and for everyone for hosting this event and bringing this show to life on the big screen. And
Thank you.
we were just talking about the success of Bass Reeves, about how it's the most streamed product on Paramount, how the reviews are all good. So I'm speaking to existence right now. It's highly likely we might get season 2.
Come on.
Okay.
Your words to God's
Manifestation.
ears.
Right.
Manifestation.
So my question is, based on what you guys know about Bass Reeves' story and the research you all have done, what would a season 2 look like? What more could we tell from Bass Reeves?
Great question. He made it last. He made it strong. He
Oh,
did
you got
it,
one
right,
more
Jeff?
coming. You got one more
he
coming.
He did the thing that you asked for. Thank you, and thank you for being here. And then I imagine if there is a season 2, like I was speaking to earlier when I said, "Oh, you guys didn't get to see this, see that." I think you'll see it. I definitely think the depth and the scope of this story will be explored, and we already got scenes shot and in the can ready for that. I think, as you saw, Esme and Jenny teamed up as a dynamic duo, and we know what Black women do when we work together.
Absolutely.
Right? Nations are built. So I think we'll see a good deal of that. I think we'll see Bass find that work-life balance that he's been seeking the whole season, especially now that he's gotten rid of a very necessary villain and outlaw who happened to wear a badge, because those are real. And and I think we'll delve into what some of these all-Black townships may look like, and find some other people.
All right, and this is the final question of the evening. As I said, make it good, because that was a good one. That could have closed it. You gonna make it good?
Bring it
All
home.
right.
Bring us home.
This actually is for both of you. People can watch one event. People can be in church hearing one sermon, and it affects people differently. So what brought me to tears in the whole series was the outstanding portrayal of the interaction between Bass and Jenny in terms of this man was leaving and it was breaking his heart. And that's from personal life. I'm leaving, and be it going to Iraq or overseas all the time. And that last scene when he came back and he said, "I'm home for good." That's something I'm praying about right now. So my question to both of you is that is every time we talk or hear from actors is always, "While I was filming this movie, this was the best part." While I was filming. So my question is, now that the filming is done and when you're pulled out of work and you're actually watching it, I would love to hear from both of you what hit the core of your being, be it your part or be it someone else's part, but as you're done filming and you're watching the episode yourself, what just moved you to the core of your being?
He did good. He did good.
I'd
Did he
agree.
bring us
I'd agree.
home, or did he bring us home? I'll let you go first.
The one that brought me to the core of my being, it's not in there, but it would be the scene with Jenny that I have with her, that she was speaking to the Klan scene, and I come and save the day. I felt like it was really important, especially for viewers to see the Klan, see how far something as light as Sally butting in front of a line in front of a little white girl, like tragedies that came with something as simple as that. So yeah, just being on set, seeing those hooded guys, seeing Jenny with the shotgun and putting a shotgun to the face of one of those hooded guys, it showed a lot of power in that. So yeah, that would be the scene, not coming out of, but like, actually
That's what we need to
doing the
see
singing
too.
is
That's what we need to
what got me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least we have it in the trailer for now. It's yeah. I would say I was moved to the core of my being today, and there are so many scenes that I'm really happy about and proud of and moved by that I was either in or not in, especially from the young people that I had the pleasure of working with and being their fake mommy on set, but it was real. Like, their moms still write me today and say, well, this is, such and such learned their math, multiplications tables, and this one is potty trained and stuff like that, because, we really became family on set, and I had to make sure that they recognized me as their mother immediately when the cameras weren't rolling. So I say that to say, I established my my matriarchal energy as fast as I could so that I didn't have to play at it once the cameras rolled, and they could also listen better. So I fed them snacks or whatever. When it was snack time, I was like, I'll feed them, all that stuff. Or I'll help soothe when they're upset and stuff like that. But so today's episode, the finale episode, being in the field with them, with Bass and Jenny, and then watching that family exist, and that is their community, but it's 7 of them at this point. Watching them and then watching them with all of you guys.
Yeah, it brought me to tears as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful seeing your face. There's so many times I was like, wow, I felt her. I honestly felt Jenny in here. And like you, I don't have children yet, but through your eyes, I'm like, I can see what it is to be a mom. I can see what it is to be a wife, to love somebody that much. And so thank you for bringing this character to life.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. This is, like I said, this is the place, Durham in North Carolina, is where I fell in love with storytelling, sitting around my great-grandmother's den, listening to my aunties and uncles tell stories, or sitting around my dad's kitchen table and listening to he and his brothers and sisters tell stories. It's where it's on Shepherd's Auditorium, James E. Shepherd's Auditorium, and Hillside Stage, where I fell in love with acting, and then on Hillside Stage understood what a gift was and how I could use that in the world. And so yeah, I'm moved to the core of my being right now.
All right. You all did that unprompted. I was going to say give it another hand. Now that is the finale of this portion of the evening, but join us in the lobby. We're going to have a little bit of receptions. We're going to be taking some pictures. We're going to have some more conversations. These are the things that keep the energy of this series alive, because this is just a finale for this season, but we're speaking to existent more seasons to come. So go ahead, join us in the lobby. Have a great evening, and we'll see you all out there.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.